excited about the journey that our church has been taking, that we've been growing. That's really been my heart and desire as we've been looking at the journey of faith. My hope is that as we continue in the season of Lent, as we go through this time together, from the beginning, and I've only been here since January, but to be able to know what it means to follow the Lord. That in our journey of faith, what does it mean? What does it look like to have faith? To have a relationship with Jesus Christ? And especially in this season, Lent, like I talked about before, is a time for us to examine ourselves, to take a look at ourselves, to take a moment to look at what it means that Jesus Christ died for me. That during the season of Lent, that it would be a time where we begin to look at the reality of Jesus Christ and His death, and what it means that He was crucified for me. And I pray that this time is more than just a moment to meet together, that it's more than just gathering together, that it's not just a weekly scheduled meet. That to me is no different than meeting at a club, going to this or that. I hope and pray that our time together has been an opportunity for changes to happen in our lives, for changes to happen in the way that we live. For me, the goal always is a changed life. And what does that mean? What does a changed life look like? It's where something is not the same that it always was. When there's a change, there's a difference. And I'm not talking about a big change. I'm not saying that there has to be complete, like there's something significant, but that even in the small ways, that we will be growing in hope, that we will be stretched, that we will be encouraged, that we will come to a place where we are encountering the reality of Jesus Christ. See, that's what it means to me, the relationship with Jesus. To encounter the reality of Jesus Christ. Not just to hear in knowledge, not just to hear in the teaching, not just to sing or say with our words, but they will come face to face and encounter Jesus Christ. And as we encounter, that there be a change. That something would be different in how we live. To help us in this, we've been looking at Abraham. And for me, this is kind of exciting because I love the story of Abraham. I look at this man who is called by God to leave his home, his father's household. And we begin to see in his journey, in his life, how the reality of who God is changes him. And I pray that as we've been looking at Abraham, that it would be an encouragement for us to also examine our own journey and our own relationship with Jesus Christ. And that it encourage us to also change and also know the reality of Jesus Christ. That it would encourage us to grow, to take steps of faith into the places and the direction that we believe He is calling us to. And to let the reality and the relevance of Jesus Christ. I believe He's real, and I believe He's relevant. See, it's not a story of the past. It's not something that's been done in the past. I believe it's a present reality that is happening today. And I see lives change, and that's what's exciting to me, is that He is relevant. Even in this day, a lot of times when you talk to people, there's always, especially people who have more experience in their years, they say, I remember when this used to be like this. Or, you know what, it's hard for me to relate to the things that are happening now because it's different than it used to be. Right? Even us, in our human capacity, understand that there's a difference in generation gap and trends of this world. But Jesus Christ, the reality and the relevance of Jesus Christ is true even today. And to me, that is absolutely exciting. To me, that speaks to the reality of His resurrection. Because Jesus Christ being alive can only be relevant because He is alive. Does that make sense? It's not a story that I keep in the past, a memorial service. We don't gather together and study to celebrate a memorial service. We gather and study to celebrate the reality that He is true and He is alive. So in my journey of faith, as I go forward in my day-to-day living, with our different backgrounds and our different jobs and our different lives and our different families and pockets of community, that Jesus Christ is relevant and real and can affect us and bring hope and bring change. And that to me is absolutely exciting. That to me, I think, is what life is about. To know a hope in Jesus Christ, and to know that He is real, and to know that He is relevant, that to me is so exciting. Because that means no matter what I go through, no matter what I face, no matter what challenges, no matter what fears I have for my children, because, I look at the thing, I don't know if I told the story already, but Joshua and Elise, they're coming home from school, and they have stuff they have to do online. I don't remember doing stuff online ever, like having an account, and they're making PowerPoint presentations. I was like, PowerPoint presentations? I didn't even use that until college, but they're like making these presentations, and they're cutting and pasting from the internet. Like, wow, it's crazy. But even in the midst of all that change, and maybe I don't understand, what excites me is that the reality of Jesus Christ can bring hope even to them and to generations and generations to come. Because He is not dead but alive. And that is what the journey of faith is about. And so to look at what it means to continue to surrender in our journey in our relationship with Jesus Christ, we're going to continue with our look at Abraham. So if you turn with me to Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. And now as you're turning to that, let me give a little bit of background. So here we are, Abraham obviously, and we're coming, closer to the end of Abraham's journey. But here we are, we talked about the reality and the promise of Isaac through Sarah, right, with Abraham and Sarah. And here we are today, and Isaac has been born. And Isaac just hasn't been recently born. It's been a number of years. So we understand that Isaac is probably is in his adolescent years. And some time has passed. And so from that, we begin to see what's happening. And the challenge we're going to read about today, and that's what makes it so much more difficult. And so much more impactful. So Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. It says this. Sometime later, God tested Abraham, and He said to him, Abraham! Here I am, he replied. And God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. And he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father, Abraham, Father? Yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and wood are here, Isaac said. But where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God Himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham! Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called at that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Amen. So, like I mentioned before, here we are with Isaac. And this passage is challenging. For those of us, especially with children, to think about this and what God is calling Abraham to. And what makes it even more challenging is, like I said, Isaac, the promised one, the one that Abraham has been waiting decades for. The promise that God gave him, and Abraham even wasn't sure how that was going to happen, and he took matters into his own hands with Hagar. Finally, here is Isaac, born, older, young man, a young boy. And so in that time, you have to understand that there's a relationship that's built up between Abraham and Isaac. And that's why what God is asking Abraham is so challenging. But from what I see from this passage, to have the life that God calls us to, a life free from the constraints of this world, means that we have to live in surrender. It's about letting go of our own understanding, our own inhibitions, our own thoughts, and letting God be God in our lives. What God asks of Abraham is the ultimate test of faith. Not temptation. God doesn't tempt him, but he tests him. He tests him to reveal what he really believes about God. In testing, what happens is it reveals where we are in our journey. Right? And so the question then, we talk about this, does God test us? And in certain ways, I believe he does. He doesn't tempt us, but I believe he tests us. He tests us not in a way to see if we meet the requirements. Okay? Because when we think of testing, I don't know about you, and as I was going through this passage, I was like, does God test us in a way where it's like, hey, you passed, you failed? Right? I don't think it's a pass-fail thing. It's not just about, oh, you passed, congratulations, come on into my flock. And, oh, you failed, you're out. It's not that kind of testing. I think it's a kind of testing that helps us reveal where we are. It helps us to understand where we are. It helps us to be stretched, to take us to the next level. To say, hey, in the midst of this, in this testing, as I'm able to overcome it, I am able to see where I'm at and to understand where God is calling me to. It takes us into a deeper relationship with him. So it's not the kind of testing where, we're understanding like, hey, did you meet the requirements or did you not? It's not about meeting requirements. It's really about understanding where we need to grow and where we are at. That in and through that testing, it would help us to see how we need to live. And it's not just one test. I don't think that, God gives us this one major test, like a final. Say, oh, here we are, this is it, this is the ultimate time. I don't think so. I think there are different tests of faith along the way. Right? And for some of us, like looking back in your life, there are opportunities for growth. Right? There are opportunities to take a step of faith, opportunities to see how you might need to take a step of faith and grow. I think those are those moments of testing. And I believe in those moments of testing, God wants us to succeed. God wants us to realize that we can grow. To know what life will look like as we are stretched. To know what it looks like to take those steps of faith. To know the reality of life as we surrender. But here's the thing, here's the challenge with surrender. The idea of surrender kind of gives us this feeling of weakness. Right? When somebody says, oh, you need to surrender, we think of like giving up. Like, oh, I lose. Right? Yesterday, I went to the park and we were taking advantage of the nice weather. And I used to, maybe not so much now. Back in the day, I was pretty fast. Okay, people, and again, this is another story for another time, but people used to want to race me. I was really fast, right? I always, sprinting was my thing. Long distance, probably not what I wanted to do, but I was really fast, even with my short legs, but I could race people. Well, yesterday, Josh and Elise wanted to play tag, right? And so we went to this playground, and, I used to just trot, these kids can't, I'm fast. Well, all of a sudden, okay, it's been a while since we've actually run. I actually had to run fast. I was within Monica fun. He's like, oh, why are you running out of bread? Like, you know, what's wrong with it, man? I'm like, hey, first of all, you're not running because you're pregnant, okay? And, you know, I have 2 kids. They're like, and Josh was police fast now too. I'm like, and I'm running wood chips, by the way, okay? So it doesn't give me a firm ground to push off. And I had a jacket, so it was a little tight. You know what I mean? So I couldn't move. And I'm like dripping sweat. She's like, why are you sweating so much? I go, because it's hard, okay? It's hard. And, you know, at the end, I was like, okay, I win. And then they still tagged me. And so I was like, okay, I surrender. Right? So this idea of surrender is like, I give up. I'm done. I can't, like, I literally was out of breath. I was trying to say, like, well, time out. And for them, there's no time out when they're playing with daddy. So they got me. And I said, okay, I surrender. Right? This idea of surrender it comes with this idea of like weakness. Oh, I can't go on anymore. I'm unable to do it. But here's the difference when we surrender to the Lord. When we surrender to God, we don't find defeat. And this is where the understanding, like how we think is changed. When we surrender to God, it's not about defeat. We don't lose. When we surrender to God, there is victory. There is hope. There is not defeat. When we surrender to God, that's when we understand freedom and victory. Because it's when we let go that we realize that how big God is. We realize that God is there. In surrender, I believe, is breakthrough. Because here's the thing, we don't hold on to our own understanding anymore. When we surrender to God, we are saying, Lord, I will not try to do things out of my own abilities or my own power. But I am free. I'm letting go to let you be God in my life. To say, I don't want to dictate how I'm going to go anymore, Lord, but I will trust in you. And now I'm free to step out without any of my own fears, without anything holding me back, without being uncomfortable or comfortable. That it's not even about that. It's about just stepping out in victory, in freedom, in hope. To be able to live for Jesus with boldness, not timidity, because of the surrender that we have. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 12 reminds us, it says, therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold. I'm not bold because of what I know. I'm not bold because I think I got it all together. I am bold because of the hope that I have in Jesus Christ. And that hope doesn't come out of my own abilities or my own control, but that hope comes in surrender. And letting God be God. And I believe this is what God calls us to in our journey of faith. To surrender ourselves, surrender our thoughts, surrender our understanding, our way of life. And I'm not talking about stop doing what you do. So it's like, oh, okay, so that means, quit my job, stop school, go on mission. Should I just go and do that? No, that's not what I'm talking about. God's given us a specific way of living right now, an opportunity that only we have. But in your life, in your job, in your career, in your relationships, in your circle, how are you surrendering yourselves for the Lord? How are you living for Him? How will you live in surrender to Him in the midst of your lives? That's what it means to surrender. I believe that's what it means to surrender in this journey. So to take a look and delve a little more deeply into surrendering, there's a couple of things I'm going to look at. The first is this. Surrendering to God means living in obedience. Surrendering to God means living in obedience. Surrendering to God really means that we live in obedience to Him, to what He calls us to follow where He calls us to. And the only way to know how He's calling us is to surrender. Like it kind of works together. Right? We don't say, Lord, I'm going to surrender to you, so I'm going to do this because I think that's what I need to do. No. Surrendering to God, saying, Lord, I come to you. I come to you with my own weaknesses, my own shortcomings, and my ways, and I just want to let that go. Lord, how do you want me to live in this circumstance, in this situation, in my relationship, in my career, in this challenge? How will we live? Surrendering and live means living in obedience, without question, without compromise, without saying, Lord, wait a minute, hold on. How is it that you want me to go? What is it you want me to do? Wait a minute. You're saying that I need to surrender this way? Oh, okay, let me just grasp my mind around it and say, we try to make sense of what we believe God might be calling us to, how God wants us to obey. Wait, Lord, you want me to give up this? You want me to do... Well, hold on, how? How? What does that mean? You want me to live for you, Jesus? You want me to proclaim your word and how I live? How? Like, let me think about it. Let me figure it out. But it's not. It's simple obedience. It's willingness to take action. See, after the Lord calls Abraham to this incredible challenge, what is Abraham's response? Let's go to verse 3. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. Early the next morning. He didn't wait. He didn't say, Lord, you didn't really give me a timeline, so let me just figure this out for a couple of days, and then let me figure out the path that you're calling me to. He doesn't. Immediately, early, it's not even like later on the day, it's the first thing that he does the next morning. He gets ready to go to the place that God told him about, without hesitation, without compromise. He immediately sets out in obedience. I wonder if we feel that tug in our hearts that God is calling us to surrender Him to. If there's something that we need to obey Him in, that we've been holding back. I believe now is the time where we need to take action without hesitation. That the first thing that we do, the immediate thing that we do, be to go out in obedience to what He calls us to. And as we see in our passage today, sometimes what God calls us to surrender is not always easy. In fact, it can go against everything that we understand. It may not even make sense. It may not even make sense. Why? Why would you do that? It doesn't, what? Like what? Why pray before every meal? I mean, as simple as that. Why? Why take time for God in your busy day? I mean, you can always, surely God will understand if you do it at the end or if you skip a day. Surely He will. Surely if you miss meeting with Him, surely it'll be okay. Yes, God is a God of grace, don't get me wrong. But I believe He calls us to obedience, to understand the full life that we can have. To surrender, to know what it means to surrender, means we live in obedience, even if it doesn't make sense in the world's ways. Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 19, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness in God's sight. We so often think the world and what makes sense is the way that we need to follow. But sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes what God calls us to is something greater than what we think we understand. Maybe what God is calling us to is to make a shift in our lives, the way that we live. Maybe it's a call to give something up or choose to live a specific way. That might go against what makes sense in the world. Whether it's as significant as a career change, or maybe it's just about taking more time in our devotional life. Saying, you know what? I know I had, I'm giving myself a boundary of about 20 minutes to spend time with the Lord. But maybe God is pressing in on me, where I just need to spend a little bit more time, on Him. And I have a busy day, a busy schedule. Maybe I need to come. Maybe God's tugging at my heart. Maybe there's something more here, and I can't let it go. I shouldn't let it go. Maybe it's talking to that person that God's brought into your life about Jesus. Maybe it's sharing faith. And sight. And you know what? That's knowledge. Yeah, that can come. But what the Spirit can do, what the Lord can do is greater than that. And to trust in what He can do. And simply surrender and obey. And obedience, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's taking the hard path every time. I'm not saying, okay, if it's the most difficult thing, you got to take that path. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's following the path that God has for you. So what path is He calling you to? In what way is He calling you to live? How will you live? How will you take action and obey? And not just agree in your mind, in your spirit, but in how you live out. That how you live out from here will be without hesitation or compromise. Without debating that call to action. Wait, but God's calling me in this way. I know it's not that way. It shouldn't be this way. Let me figure this out. Don't figure it out. But simply obey. And be willing to go all in. Without hesitation. Without saying, well, let me take a step here. Let me just try it out. Let me just try it out for this week. And if it isn't, I'll go back to the way it was. See, and that's the problem sometimes. We always give ourselves we're like riding a fence. We're one side here and one side here. Yeah, I believe in what God is calling me to, and I believe in surrender, and I want that life. But I also live here according to this world, and I have responsibilities. It's a fine balance. So I'll just try it out, and I'll kind of go back and forth as it makes sense to me. And I want to challenge you. Let's not do that. Let's absolutely go. Let's go where God calls us to. Let's live the way that God calls us to. Let's jump in absolutely and completely. You know what this reminds me of is when Monica and I first got married, we had the opportunity to go to Mexico on a trip. And obviously this is 4 kids. And Monica, if you didn't know already, she's much more bold than I am in many ways. I admit it, but she has a lot more courage, especially when it comes to heights. So we were able to go to this place, and it's kind of like a well, right? It's like a hole in the ground. Like people are jumping off this huge cliff into this water, and it looks, in my mind, okay, this is my perspective. When I look down, it looks like a small swimming pool. Okay, like a kiddie, those like plastic inflatable swimming pools. It's much bigger than that. But from my perspective, it's small, right? But all these kids are jumping off the cliff and going in, and and I'm like, that is ridiculous, right? I'm not gonna do that. I'm a grown man. God called me to ministry. I can't do that. God has a plan for my life, and that's not it right there. That little goal. But then Monica, being adventurous, and she's like, let's jump. I go, no. But then she's like, no, let's hold hands and jump. She's trying to be romantic, right? It's like, so I'm like, so I was like, no. Why don't you go first, okay? You go, because I want to make sure you're okay, and then I'll follow, right? Thinking that she'd say, no, I'm not going to do it. She's like, okay, and she's gone. Why did she do it? And there she is, and then she's like treading water. It's like, come on down. I'm like, you need to get away from that area. If I jump, I don't want to land on you. To me, again, this looks very small, right? And I don't know how deep this is. I didn't go in the water. For all I know, I could jump in the water and break my leg. God doesn't want that, surely. I must start compromising, surely. And then I look, and then the cliff kind of angles out a little bit. So now I'm thinking, when I jump, I have to commit. Like, I can't hesitate. Because if you hesitate, you're like, oh no. And then you don't go far out enough. Now my concern is, I'm going to hit the wall. Or I'm going to hit the cliff. All these doubts start coming in my mind. That the water's too small. I don't know how deep it is. What if should I go head first or leg first or do the belly? I don't know. What should I do to save myself in case something happens, right? And then I'm like, but then I got to jump out. I can't. If I commit to this jump, if I do it, I have to go all the way because I don't want to hit the cliff. And I make this cliff sound like it's humongous. It probably wasn't that tall, but in my mind, it was that tall. Okay, it was like a mountain. Anyway, so she's like, come on. Like, wait, hold on, I gotta run. I can't just jump. I gotta jump. I'm the baby with it, and all these kids are looking at me and they're laughing. I'm like, who's this guy? Like, why don't you just jump? Right, we're waiting for you. There's like a line that's forming behind me now. And they're like, go, go, go. I'm like, hey, don't push me. Don't rush me. I need to figure this out. And finally, I close my eyes and I jump out, and of course I make it in. But I don't like that feeling. You know the butterfly in your stomach feeling? I really don't like it. It's not fun for me. She's like, oh, how was that? I was like, yeah, it was okay. Let's go. But I believe that's what surrender is like. It's when, we start getting all these doubts in our mind. Wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. Wait. And then, people are like, come on, let's go. Like, no, don't bother me about that, And you start like questioning, like, let me figure this out. And sometimes it's about saying, God, I trust in you. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just going to run and I'm going to follow you. And what we find is that is the exhilaration of life. That jump wasn't exhilarating for me, but in Jesus Christ, when we surrender, we find that. It's when we finally let go. To finally let go of all those things that hold us down. It's about complete surrender. And I believe Abraham experiences this even greater, because we come to the end of this passage, and the angel of the Lord comes and affirms that promise even more. And Abraham has got it. He understands it. He understands the life that is in the Lord. How is God calling you to move and to live out? How are we fully stepping out in surrender and obedience? Or are we holding ourselves back? The second thing is this: surrendering to God means trusting in His goodness. Surrendering to God is trusting in His goodness. See, to fully be able to surrender comes from trusting in Him, that He is good. To believe that He is who He says He is. Not simply in my knowledge, but in my life. But out of an encounter with Him, right? I talked about that. Out of that encounter, out of knowing the reality of Jesus Christ, out of His relevance, out of His reality. It's not just a concept. That believing in Jesus is not just a good concept I understand with my mind. But to be able to live out, as challenging and as difficult as it might be, to say, yes, Lord, I trust that You are good. This call to Abraham was not easy. Some people might say, well, but he's the father of faith. He did it, didn't he? But you begin to see how Abraham began to take action. And there's some implied challenges that are there for Abraham that sometimes we miss when we first read it. For example, after the Lord gives Abraham this command, and He said, verse 3, early the next morning, Abraham got up and he loaded his donkey. But here, begin looking at this. He took with him 2 of his servants and his own son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place that God had told him about. And you look at this, and some might say, okay, we have all throughout that. He got his servants, he cut the wood. He got his servants, loaded his donkey, cut the wood. And say, well, usually people cut the wood first, so that everything's ready, so when you do get your servants, then you go. Like the order of how it was kind of being done is something that begins to give us the implication, hey, something else is going on. Whatever it might be, the order in which it's done is a little different than what we understand. But regardless of the challenge, Abraham trusts in the Lord. And I believe through the number of times God has appeared and revealed Himself to Abraham, that Abraham is able to trust in Him. And even as the Lord appears to him again and calls him to this test, I believe that God recognizes the immensity of what He's asking. He says, you go and sacrifice your son, your only son, the son which you love, Isaac. The fulfillment, the one who will fulfill all the promises. And the question here is, would Abraham cling to his son now that he had him, or would he continue to trust return to the Lord. I believe Abraham believed that God was good. That he would still keep his word and promise. And he believed that God had a perfect plan. And we're reminded in verse 12, when the angel of the Lord comes and Abraham is about to sacrifice Isaac, he says, "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." He's able to fear the Lord. We've talked about this before. Fearing the Lord, to have this holy fear that God is sovereign. God, the Creator, has all things in place. I trust that my God is mighty. I can surrender to God because my God is mighty. The God that I believe in, the God that I trust, is good, is loving, and does have a perfect plan. So in the ways God is calling us, are we willing to step out to believe in His goodness? Trusting that He has a perfect plan for us. To know fully the freedom of the hope as we surrender to Him. The last thing is this. Surrendering to God means believing He provides. Even in the midst of the difficulty of what the Lord is calling Abraham to, I believe Abraham believed that God would provide. Right? Here, after 3 days of traveling, coming to the mountain where God directed it, what does he tell his servants in verse 5? He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship and then we will come back to you." He says, we will worship and then we will come back to you. Not, hey, we're going to go over there and offer a sacrifice and leave it there. Not saying that sacrifice may possibly be Isaac. But there's something in the way that he even says that. We will worship and we will come back to you. There's a deep sense of trust that Abraham has, that God has it. Something, it'll work out. It will work out. And he's like this, I can feel this tension in Abraham, this like, what? And it's like a quiet, complete obedience, as difficult as it is. And I can't imagine how challenging it was for him. That his son would say, "Lord, I see the fire, I see the mud, I see the wood. Where is the lamb for sacrifice?" There's almost a sense that Isaac kind of knows. But instead of fighting him, instead of pleading him, it's almost like he is able to trust because he sees that Abraham trusts. And I see that when we surrender, when we're able to surrender, that God provides not just for us, but for all of us. I believe there's that deep sense of trust that Abraham has. And his experience with the Lord, his encounter with the Lord has changed. From the beginning, when he was called by God to leave his father's household and to leave everything and to go. And a number of times that he's taken matters into his own hands, he finally gets it. I can almost feel like he wants to, but he's not. He said, "No, I trust that God will provide." And though it took decades for Isaac to be born, he's learned his lesson. He knows that God will provide. Do we know that God will provide? Are we able to trust in His goodness and obey that He calls us to? I pray that we would know the joy of surrender. The joy of knowing that God is good and He loves us so much, and the reality of the life that we can have when we surrender to Him. And so I pray that as we move forward, I pray that as we continue in our journey, that we would know this life. Let's pray. Let's pray. Now, Lord, we thank you so much for this time and this reminder that we miss all of this, Lord. reveal to us the places where we need to trust and obey. And help us not to hold ourselves back, but to fully give ourselves to you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. We're going to continue in our time together with time of communion. So I'm looking at being surrendered to God, that we would take part in communion, and it would bring us into that place of surrender, where we can give ourselves to Him. And so we take communion to remember Christ's sacrifice for us, and the life that we have in Him. And as we take part in it, let this be a way for us to really surrender to Him. So the Lord Jesus, on the night that He was betrayed, took bread, and when He given thanks, He broke it and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after